In this video, I'll be showing you exactly what you need to do immediately after you claim Social Security and before you tell anyone. Because claiming isn't a finish line, it's a new risk window that most people never lock down. Through working with clients who've claimed without running the numbers first, I've discovered that the moment Social Security starts, your exposure to taxes, Medicare surcharges, and benefit stacking changes completely. And the people who celebrate before they optimize, they end up paying for it year after year for the rest of their retirement. That's exactly why I'm making this video today, to show you how your new income stream affects your provisional income, how much of the benefit becomes taxable, what happens to your Medicare premiums 2 years later, and why the system is counting on you to coast the moment you start collecting. Let's get right into it. So why does claiming Social Security open up a new risk window? All right, let's start with the mindset shift that most people completely miss. Claiming Social Security feels like crossing the finish line, right? You've waited for years, maybe even decades. The first check hits your bank account. You tell your friends, you tell your family, maybe pop a champagne bottle. Everyone celebrates. But here's the truth that nobody talks about. Claiming isn't the end. It's the beginning of a whole new risk window. The benefit amount itself gets locked in the moment you file. That part is set. But the exposure that it creates, that's only just starting. From that day forward, Social Security becomes a permanent line item on your tax return every single year for the rest of your life. And it doesn't sit there quietly. It interacts with every other dollar that you're pulling. IRA withdrawals, 401k distributions, dividends, capital gains, interest, all of it stacks together in a way that can quietly push you into higher taxes. Medicare surcharges, and lost flexibility that you never saw coming. I see it all the time with clients here in Orange County, California, sharp, successful people who retire comfortably, claim their benefit, think that part is over. They celebrate without running the numbers first. They don't model how this new income stream changes their provisional income threshold, how much of the benefit actually becomes taxable, or how it sets up higher Medicare premiums 2 years down the road. By the time they notice the damage, it's already baked in. The retirees who come out way ahead, they're the ones who optimize quietly before they go shouting it from the rooftops. They run the projections, they adjust their withdrawal strategy, maybe do a little more Roth conversion while that window is still open. They keep significantly more of what they've earned. The ones who coast after claiming, they watch the system slowly take back chunks of what they thought was free money through taxes and surcharges they could have minimized. So what actually changes the second Social Security income starts flowing? Your AGI, your adjusted gross income, now includes that benefit every single year. And combine it with your usual IRA withdrawals, dividends, capital gains, whatever, you're using it to fund your lifestyle. And suddenly you're crossing thresholds you weren't even tracking before. The IRS has this thing called provisional income. It's your AGI plus any tax-exempt interest like munis, municipal bonds, plus half of your Social Security benefit. Now, cross certain levels and boom, part of your benefit becomes taxable. For single people, it starts at $25,000 of provisional income. For married filing jointly, it's $32,000. Go higher and up to 85% of your benefit can get taxed at ordinary rates. The stacking effect is brutal. That same $20,000 IRA withdrawal that was perfectly fine pre-claiming can now be the thing that pushes you over the edge, triggering taxation in your Social Security that just wasn't there before. Most people don't feel it right away. They don't realize that their whole tax picture shifted until they go and file that first tax return and see the extra tax bill staring right back at them. By then, habits are set, spending patterns are locked, it's a lot harder to unwind. And that's why this moment matters so much. Claiming opens a new risk window. Now, let me show you the first thing you need to check before you tell anyone. Check your provisional income threshold. The first thing you need to do, literally the day your claiming paperwork is approved, before you tell a single person, is check your provisional income. This is the number that quietly decides how much of your Social Security stays yours after Uncle Sam takes his cut. So what exactly is provisional income and why does it become such a big deal the moment those benefits start? It's the IRS's formula for figuring out how much of that benefit turns taxable on your federal return. They don't just look at one piece. they add up things in a very specific way. They're going to start with your AGI, adjusted gross income. They're going to toss any tax exempt interest in there, think municipal bonds. Then at half of your annual Social Security benefit, that total is your provisional income. Now, the thresholds are surprisingly low and haven't changed in decades. It's why they catch so many people off guard. For single filers, anything over 25 grand starts making part of that benefit taxable. Cross 34,000 and up to 85% of it can be taxed at your regular income tax rate. Now, married filing jointly, the lines are 32,000 to start taxation. Over 44,000 pushes you into that 85% zone. Most retirees with even moderate withdrawals from IRAs or 401ks sail right past these numbers without realizing it. A couple pulling 60 to 80,000 a year from traditional accounts, add their Social Security and provisional income, they can easily hit 80 to 100 grand plus a year. So why do so many accidentally shove themselves over that threshold? It's pure stacking. Taking a typical higher earning couple getting around 40,000 a year combined in Social Security, that sounds great. But layered on top of the AGI, they've already got IRA contributions or distributions, dividends, capital gains, interest, and that provisional income bucket fills up in a hurry. People who weren't careful managing to stay under the limit before claiming suddenly find themselves deep over in the instant the benefit kicks in. 1 month, everything's fine. The next, half or more of their Social Security is taxable. The taxation isn't black and white, it scales. A little over the first threshold might only tax 50% of the benefit, but because most people with retirement accounts never model the interaction ahead of time, they end up in the 85% zone year after year. They thought Social Security would be mostly tax-free, and instead it's quietly adding thousands to their annual tax bill. The silver lining, if you calculate your provisional income right now, before you announce it to friends and family and even yourself that you're officially collecting, you've still got time to make adjustments, maybe shift withdrawals to Roth accounts for the year. Those ones don't count towards provisional income. Maybe harvest a loss or a small capital gain from one of those brokerage accounts that are not in an IRA or a 401k. Get the income you need without hurting the taxation on your Social Security. Maybe do a small Roth conversion while your income picture is still flexible. These kind of moves can protect a huge portion of your benefit from taxation, but only if you catch it before habits lock in. So provisional income determines how much of your benefit gets taxed. Now let me show you exactly what that taxation looks like. How much of your benefit becomes taxable? Now that we've got provisional income on the table, let's look at what it actually does. It decides exactly how much of your Social Security benefit turns into taxable income on your federal return. And here's how this taxation really works. Depending on where your provisional income lands, anywhere from 0% to 85% of your annual Social Security benefit can get added to your taxable income. It's not a flat rate, it's tiered. Stay under the threshold, zero tax on that Social Security benefit. A little over, up to 50% becomes taxable. Cross that higher line, up to 85% of the benefit gets taxed at your ordinary tax rate. Now, let's take a look at a realistic example. Let's say you're getting 40,000 a year in combined Social Security as a couple. If you're in that 85% zone, what happens to most retirees with any decent IRA or any decent investment income is 34,000 of that benefit gets added right on top of your other taxable income. It's like having an extra 34,000 of ordinary income hitting your tax return every single year. And on top of what you were already pulling from your other accounts, the taxes can really add up. Most people never expect this kind of tax hit. They hear Social Security, they think mostly tax-free or lightly taxed at best. But when provisional income pushes them into that 85% bracket, it feels like a surprise bill that keeps coming year after year. And the worst part, the benefit itself often is what tips provisional income over the edge in the first place. It's a compounding loop where the free money starts costing you real taxes. This is exactly why it matters so much to model this before you tell anyone that you've claimed. Once you start celebrating, telling friends, family, posting about it, mentally checking the retirement achieved box, it's human nature to coast. You're unlikely to circle back, dig in the spreadsheets, and figure out what the benefit is actually costing you in taxes. Habits, they set in, spending patterns, they lock, and withdrawal strategies start to become autopilot. By the time you realize the extra tax drag, it's a lot harder to unwind. But if you run the numbers right now while the ink is still wet on that claiming decision, you can see the exact percentage of your benefit that's taxable. And that knowledge, it gives you real power to adjust. Pull more from Roth accounts instead of traditional IRAs this year. Take withdrawals from your trust account or joint brokerage account. Do a targeted Roth conversion while your income is still controllable. I've had clients who, after modeling this, switched their withdrawal strategy and projected 50% to 70% more of their Social Security from taxation just by being deliberate about which bucket they pulled from. Now, the window to make those smart moves is right here, right now, before you've locked in those patterns and told the world that you're officially retired and collecting. Do it now while you still have the flexibility. Don't wait until the celebration fades and the tax bill arrives. Now that you see how benefit taxation works, if you want help building your dream retirement as a whole, click on the link below to watch my free training where I'll show you exactly how to optimize your retirement plan so you can apply this to your own situation. Next, check your Medicare IRMA exposure 2 years out. Before the congratulations start rolling in, what is your IRMA exposure 2 years down the road? This one sneaks up on people more than most anything else. How does Social Security and starting it actually affect your Medicare premiums? IRMA, income-related monthly adjustment amount, is the surcharge that the government adds to your Medicare Part B and Part D premiums. It's not based on what you're earning when you enroll or when the bill arrives. It's based on your modified adjusted gross income from 2 years earlier. So the year you claim Social Security, that benefit starts hitting your AGI. That's the income that's going to show up on your tax return 2 years from now and sets your Medicare premiums for the following calendar year. If claiming pushes your MAGI over an IRMA threshold in that look-back year, you arrive at higher premiums with no redo. Once that letter comes in, it's locked in. So how much are we talking? Well, crossing your first IRMA threshold, it can add anywhere from $80 to $200 per month per person to your Part B premiums alone, plus another piece for Medicare Part D. The higher tiers ramp up quickly, $300, $400, even $500 extra per month for those higher earners. Now, for a couple, that's thousands extra every single year in Medicare costs that you can't go back and fix. Picture this. You've claimed at 67, you start collecting, maybe pull a bit more from your IRA that year to cover lifestyle or one-time expenses. 2 years later, at 69, your Medicare premiums jump because of the income that you added. You didn't model it ahead of time, so it feels like a surprise penalty. And it's permanent for that year and often can ripple if that income stays elevated. Why do most retirees completely miss this connection? Well, the 2-year look back creates a built-in delay. You make the income decision now, today, but you don't feel the premium hit until 2 years earlier. Most people don't connect the dots. They see the higher bill in the mail and they think Medicare just went up, and they don't think that Social Security and the IRA combo that they did from 2024 is the reason. Adding Social Security on top of your existing IRA withdrawals in the same year can easily push MAGI over the threshold, even if neither one of those would have made you cross it on their own. It's the stacking again. And once you're over it, the surcharges apply every year your income stays elevated. A single poorly planned year, say claiming plus a big distribution, can trigger extra premiums that stick around for multiple years, compounding into tens of thousands over your retirement. Now, the fix is simple but powerful. Project your MAGI for the year you're going to claim and the following year before you lock it in. Run the numbers. What does my AGI look like with Social Security added? Where do I land on the IRMA tiers? Now, current thresholds start at around $106,000 for a single person, $212,000 for a joint couple for the 2024 look back, affecting 2026 premiums. But they adjust slightly each year, so you want to make sure you check for the latest numbers. Now, seeing exactly where that exposure starts gives you time to adjust. Maybe delay a withdrawal from your IRA. Maybe pull from your cash or a brokerage account or a joint account. Maybe pull from your Roth instead of your IRA this year. You might even want to consider claiming differently if it's not too late. Do this quietly now while you still control the variables. Don't wait for that premium letter to arrive 2 years from now. Then it's too late. So IRMA hits 2 years after the income shows up. Now let me show you how your account mix affects all of this. Next, check your Roth to IRA ratio. Once you've modeled provisional income and IRMA, Take a hard look at your account mix. How much is in a traditional IRA or a 401k versus Roth accounts? This ratio becomes one of the biggest levers for controlling taxes after you claim Social Security. Now, why does the mix matter so much once your benefit starts? Because every dollar you pull from a traditional IRA or a 401k goes straight against your AGI. That bumps up your provisional income, which can make more of your Social Security taxable. It also increases your MAGI, which feeds directly into IRMA surcharges on Medicare 2 years later. So one withdrawal could trigger a double or triple hit. Higher taxes on the benefit, extra Medicare premiums, and the compounding that goes with it, all on top of the Social Security income that's already in the picture. Roth withdrawals, they're completely invisible to the system. They don't count towards AGI. They don't count towards provisional income, and they don't show up in IRMA calculations. You can pull from Roth accounts to cover living expenses, travel, whatever, and it doesn't push any thresholds higher. No stacking penalty. Now, retirees with a healthy Roth to IRA ratio have real flexibility. They can fund their lifestyle without accidentally taxing more of their Social Security or jacking up their Medicare costs. They choose which bucket to tap from year to year, keeping income low when it counts the most. But if almost everything is in traditional accounts, there's really no release valve. Every withdrawal you need compounds the penalties you're already dealing with. More provisional income means more benefits. More of your benefits are taxed, which means higher IRMA. It turns what should be a controlled drawdown into a more forced tax accelerator. I've seen clients here in Orange County, California with 7-figure traditional balances who end up giving back 30 to 40% of their free Social Security in taxes and surcharges just because they had no tax-free bucket to be able to pull from. So what should you do if your ratio is heavily weighted towards traditional accounts? If you haven't claimed Social Security yet, the years right before claiming are one of your best windows for Roth conversions. No benefit income stacking on top means that you could fill those lower brackets, the 10%, the 12%, the 22%. Those conversions can be at low tax rates, moving money to Roth where it grows tax-free and withdrawals stay invisible forever. Now, if you've already claimed, the game shifts to damage control. Minimize the traditional IRA withdrawals in the years the stacking effect is worse, and use Roth assets strategically, pulling from them in those high exposure years. The key is knowing your exact ratio and having a deliberate plan. Which accounts do I pull from this year? How much can I convert without bumping brackets or surcharges? That planning separates the retirees who keep most of their Social Security benefit from the ones who end up giving a big chunk back in taxes to Uncle Sam and to premiums over time. It's not about having everything in a Roth. It's about having enough flexibility to manage the stacking without getting trapped. So your account mix determines how much flexibility you have. Now let me show you the RMD problem that makes all of this worse. Next, check your RMD exposure. Let's look ahead to the next big stacking event that sneaks up on almost everybody. Required minimum distributions, RMDs, starting at age 73. If you don't check this exposure right after claiming your Social Security, you're setting up a permanent compounding problem down the road. Why do RMDs turn into a headache once Social Security is already flowing? Well, RMDs force you to pull money out of your traditional IRAs and 401ks and similar accounts every year starting at age 73, whether you need the cash or not. IRS doesn't care about your lifestyle. They just want their tax cut. Now, that forced income gets added straight to your AGI. With Social Security already in the mix, those RMDs stack right on top. Provisional income jumps higher, more or all of your benefit becomes taxable, MAGI climbs, IRMA surcharges kick in and get worse 2 years later. It's a triple threat that keeps building. Higher taxes on the benefit, extra Medicare premiums, and less control over your cash flow. Take a retiree who claims at 67. They've only got 6 years before RMDs hit. If the traditional IRA balance is still large because they didn't convert or withdraw strategically, those forced distributions can be massive. Over $50,000, $100,000 or more every year, depending on your account size. Now, that forced income creates a stacking problem that's basically permanent. You can't turn it off, and it keeps amplifying the penalties every year. The retirees who come out way ahead are the ones who are checking that projected RMD exposure before they even claim or right after while there's still time. They use the window between claiming that Social Security and age 73 to convert chunks to Roth at lower rates or strategically withdraw extra in those low income years. This move helps shrink those traditional balances so that RMDs are smaller and less disruptive when they do arrive. The ones who coast, celebrating the claim without looking ahead, they lose control entirely. They hit 73 with big forced payouts that push everything into higher tax brackets, higher tiers, and taxes that they really can't escape. So what you can actually do about RMD exposure after you've already claimed, what can you do about it? Well, even post-claiming, there's usually some room to act. You can convert small amounts to Roth each year, carefully size so you don't jump into that next IRMA bracket tier or spike provisional income too far. The goal is gradual reduction of the traditional balance without creating new penalties in the current year. Reducing that traditional IRA before 73, it means smaller RMDs that stack less aggressively on top of Social Security. A $2 million traditional IRA at 73 might force out $80,000 a year. Shrink it to $1.2 million through conversions, and you're looking at $50,000 or less. Much easier to manage without blowing up taxes and surcharges. The best move right now, model your projected RMD amounts at key ages. Look at age 73, 75, 80. Use current life expectancy tables and growth assumptions to see what the forced income will look like. Then layer it on top of your Social Security, expected withdrawals, and current tax brackets. You'll see exactly how it interacts and what adjustments are still possible. That window between claiming and RMD is your last real shot to reshape the tax picture proactively. Wait until the RMD notices start arriving and you're stuck accepting whatever the system forces. Higher taxes, bigger surcharges, less flexibility for the rest of your retirement. So RMD exposure compounds everything else. Now let me show you the survivor risk that most couples never consider. Next, model the survivor tax impact. This is especially important for couples, and it's the one most people never think about until it's too late. What actually happens to Social Security and taxes when one spouse dies? The surviving spouse keeps the higher of the two benefits. That part's pretty straightforward, but everything else changes dramatically. They lose married filing jointly status and switch to a single filer. Those joint tax brackets get cut nearly in half. The same total income that kept the couple comfortable in the 22% bracket can easily push the survivor into the 32% bracket. RMDs don't stop. They keep coming from the traditional accounts. And now they're taxed at those compressed single brackets. And Social Security that might have only been partially taxable or even tax-free as a couple can suddenly become 85% subject to income tax because it's now on a single tax return. Because provisional income thresholds also drop, that stacking gets worse. Higher ordinary rates on RMDs, more of the benefits being taxed, potential IRMA bumps, those Medicare premium bumps if MAGI rises, all hitting one person instead of being shared. Couples who never model this survivor scenario are unintentionally setting up whatever spouse lives longer for the highest tax years of their entire retirement. One partner gets the benefit, but the survivor gets the bill. Now, why does this matter so much? Before you celebrate claiming, every decision you make around claiming age, withdrawal strategy, and Roth conversions they don't just affect you today. It shapes the life of your surviving spouse, their tax picture for the rest of their life. The years when both of you are alive are some of the best years and best chances to act on it. Reducing the traditional IRA balance while you're both here lets you use the wider married filing jointly bracket to absorb the conversion or withdrawal taxes at lower rates. You're essentially paying a modest tax now to shrink the future RMD bomb that would otherwise explode on a single filer. Building a solid pool of Roth assets before claiming or in the years right after creates tax-free income that the survivor can tap without pushing provisional income higher, triggering more benefit taxation or worsening IRMA. Roth withdrawals stay invisible, giving the survivor flexibility when they need it most. Checking the survivor impact now, running those projections for what if one of us lives to 90 or 95, lets you make targeted adjustments. Maybe more Roth conversions while you're married. Strategic claiming, maybe one spouse delays to maximizing the survivor benefit for Social Security. These moves protect the longer living partner from a tax problem that, once it starts, can't be fixed retroactively. Don't let until one of you is gone to discover that the brackets have shrunk and the taxes have doubled. Model it quietly while you still can do something about it. So the survivor tax impact is something couples need to model now. Now let me show you why the system is counting on you to coast. Why does the system count on you to stop optimizing? All right, here's the final piece, and it's the one that ties everything together. The entire system is quietly counting on one thing after you claim Social Security, that you'll stop optimizing the moment you tell people you're collecting. What happens to most retirees once they announce? They tell their kids, they tell their friends, their golf buddies, maybe they post about it. Finally retired, checks are coming in. The celebration kicks in, the congratulations roll, and almost immediately there's a mental shift from active planning to coasting. The brain gets the signal, finish line crossed, hard work done, time to relax. You've made it. So the spreadsheets, the projections, the strategy sessions, they get pushed to the back burner. And that's exactly what the system is counting on. The penalties for poor planning, higher taxes on the benefit, IRMA surcharges, bigger RMD hits, survivor bracket compression, they don't show up all at once. They creep in gradually. A little extra on the tax return 1 year, a Medicare premium letter 2 years later, RMDs that suddenly feel crushing at 73. By the time the damage is visible and painful, the key decisions are already locked in. You can't go back and undo them. Now, the retirees who announce before they've optimized, they almost never circle back to run the numbers. The momentum of I'm done is too strong. Meanwhile, the ones who quietly optimize first, model provisional income, IRMA, RMD, survivor impact, account mix, build habits and strategies that compound in their favor for the next 30 years. Lower effective taxes, more tax-free income, protected benefits, better cash flow. The difference adds up to 6 or 7 figures over a long retirement. So what should you do instead? Treat the period immediately after claiming as the most important planning window, not the end of it. Lock in your withdrawal sequencing where you will pull from and when. Have income visibility and an overall strategy while keeping these things adjustable. Waiting to celebrate until the plan is actually in place. It ensures you don't coast into penalties that accumulate quietly year after year. It keeps your attention on the right problems: tax efficiency, flexibility for the survivor, minimizing stacking. The mindset shift is simple but powerful. Claiming isn't the finish line. It's the start of a new, more sophisticated planning phase. Retirees who see it that way keep far more of their benefit and their assets. They end up with the most control, lowest lifetime taxes, and the best outcomes. The system never gets the chance to take what it was counting on. And that's why I always say optimize first, announce later. Do the work quietly now while the window is still open. Now that you've seen why claiming Social Security opens a new risk window instead of closing one, how to check your provisional income threshold, how to model benefit taxation, how to forecast IRMA exposure 2 years out, while your Roth to IRA ratio determines your flexibility, how RMD exposure compounds the stacking problem, why survivor tax planning matters before you celebrate, and why the system is counting on you to coast the moment you start collecting, you can stop treating Social Security as the finish line and start locking down the exposure before you tell anyone. If you want help building your dream retirement, click the link below to watch my free training where I'll show you exactly how to structure your retirement plan for maximum control. I'll see you in the next video.